So as usual, I'm way late to the party on this one, but at this point I don't care. I've spent the last 4 or 5 days suffering through Matrix Resurrections because it took me that long to watch it. And I've got some other stuff I need to watch, and I'm seeing Spider-Man in a few days because I'm behind on that one because, well, for personal reasons. So, I'm finally getting to this. Hawkeye, Marvel's latest and last MCU show of 2021. And for me, the MCU shows have been very good, other than What If. I liked all of the live-action ones. What If was just eh. But I really liked the live-action ones. WandaVision was great, Falcon Winter Soldier was great, and Loki was awesome. So yeah, now Hawkeye, I had kind of mixed thoughts about before it came out, because the MCU shows were really proving themselves, and I don't think I've seen anything in the MCU that is objectively bad. Like, there are some things that are subjectively bad, like Far From Home, I don't like. That is probably the one MCU film I can't stand. But even lesser ones like Iron Man 2 or Captain Marvel or Thor 2, they're still watchable. So, I figured this would at least be okay, but I wasn't sure how a Hawkeye show would really do. I wouldn't know if it would connect to other people, or hell, even if it would connect to me. But there was a huge glimmer of hope. I saw Haley Steinfeld had been cast as Kate Bishop, and I thought that was perfect casting. And it turned out it really was. And overall, yeah, this is a pretty damn good show. So, throw the easy one out the way first. The acting's good as always. Renner's, of course, great as Hawkeye, as he always has been. I like that he's getting a bit more attention in the MCU now. And I like how they don't just gloss over his little Ronin era, I guess you can call it. Because it was shown in that one scene that he was in Endgame, where he was Ronin, that he was violently murdering these mafia dudes. You're like, okay, this probably isn't something that should be skipped over, but Endgame wasn't the focus there, so it kind of just needed to be skipped over. Like, yeah, this is what he became after his family was gone. So yeah, that makes sense. And he had to come back to the Avengers to help them restore everything. And now we get to see the consequences of that. We get to see, and there are a lot of things, like people say, like they like about Homecoming, that you see a smaller part of the world. This is true for this one as well, where you get to see, like, of course the Ronin suit and the sword stuff would be auctioned off in the small-time mafia. Well, why wouldn't it? And Kate Bishop gets, I guess, trapped in the mix, I guess, where she puts on the Ronin suit briefly, trying to get it out of an auction, where her soon-to-be stepfather, I guess, Jack, is attending, of course, because they're trying to build up that he's this big mafia dude. And I was hoping for a twist that actually happened. I'll get into that in a bit. But I was really happy that's what they went with. So, yeah, she also comes across a dog with one eye, not like a Cyclops dog, but his other eye is missing, where she eventually names Lucky in the last episode. And I was happy to see that too, because Lucky is, of course, Hawkeye's dog from the comics, so I was happy to see him, and I like Lucky. I like animal sidekicks in movies. So, he reminds me, he's like a non-talking Doug from Up. So, yeah, that was cute. And I like a lot of the other characters that were brought into this. Kingpin was, of course, brought into this, once again played by Vincent D'Onofrio. And he's, of course, as great as he was in the Netflix show, but if they really did kill him off at the end there, I'm gonna be a little annoyed. Because they're bringing back all the other cast members from Daredevil, Charlie Cox coming back, and the other cast coming back. So if they really killed off Kingpin here, I'm gonna be kind of pissed. But he was pretty good, and I like how they actually embraced his powers from the comics a bit. And here's when he's just this big dude. In Daredevil, he's just kind of this big dude. He doesn't really have any powers. He's just really strong. Here, it really shows him take an arrow to the stomach, and he just kind of breaks it off, and like it's nothing. And that's something I can see his character from the comics doing. So, yeah, I like that. And Yelena Belova is in this, and she was a really fun character in Black Widow, and she's very different here. Well, I don't want to say very different. She develops this kind of friendship with Kate Bishop after the little rooftop scuffle at the end of episode 4, and she's, of course, there to kill Clint Barton, which was set up at the end credits of Black Widow. And it was revealed that it's Kate's mother who set all this up, and honestly, that didn't shock me. I didn't see it coming, but I'm like, yeah, that seems right. So, And she's a really fun character here. I like her first little scene with Kate is very odd, but it's a lot of fun to watch. She is almost acting drunk for some reason. I don't get it. She's acting like a little kid. But honestly, I buy that since her childhood was kind of just erased after being recruited by the Black Widow. So I buy that she would still kind of act like a little kid. And we do get to see her being erased by the snap. And this is something I really liked in this show. It showed just how quick the snap was. It was, for lack of a better term, just in a snap. She started disappearing and she was all of a sudden back. It's like she didn't actually fully disappear because we were seeing it from her perspective. You see her kind of like disappear, but then you see her just like fully reform in the span of about a second. It was really quick. It really showed just how fast it was. And I actually really like, because all the other times we've seen it, we've just seen people disappear. We've seen them come back. And yeah, that was pretty quick how fast they disappeared and came back, but it was just like that. It was really cool. And I like how these Netflix shows, these Disney Plus shows really take the snap more seriously. Because something like Far From Home, one of the things I hated the most in that film is that they treated the snap like a joke. Because they had this stupid scene where band members suddenly appeared back in the gym during a basketball game. Everybody was falling over each other like idiots. And then they make a joke about Flash not really being 21, and he's trying to drink alcohol, but he's really only 16 since he got snapped. Why is that funny? There's nothing funny about someone disappearing for 5 years. Absolutely nothing. So, and WandaVision treated it way more seriously, where they showed people disappearing within a hospital, and you see all the chaos going on when people come back. And then in this one, you see just how quick that was for people. And that was something that I found really cool here. So, is this the best Marvel show? I know I haven't talked about too much, but is this the best Marvel show? You know what, I'll get into that in a second. Something else I want to talk about was the twist that I was talking about earlier, is that it's trying to set up that Jack is a villain in this. I was really hoping that they would make Jack a good guy. He's kind of an ass, but he's not really a good guy, but he would at least be on their side, and the mother was the villain. And that's what they did. And I was like, this isn't one of those times where I figured out the twist early and I got pissed. It was one of those times where I'm like, I hope they end up doing this because that would be really cool. And they did. Well, Jack's technically not a hero in this, but he helps them in the final fight in the last episode. And something else I noticed about these MCU shows is that the final episode of all the shows is basically one big action sequence, except for Loki, where it's this big, it's this philosophical episode, which I actually really like, but these are like the third acts of real Marvel movies. Real Marvel movies, their climaxes are about 30-40 minutes, the big ones at least. So it makes sense that the last episodes would just be one big fight scene, because this is the third act. This is what the entire show's been building up to, this big fight. And I actually don't mind that. People really hated the fight in WandaVision, but I thought it was fine. The fight in Falcon Winter Soldier, I haven't seen anybody complain about, and I've seen people complain I saw one review that said that the episodes 5 and 6 got a little too silly. Like, the first 4 episodes were like, yeah, this is a light show. No one's going to be expecting, for lack of a better word, Daredevil. It's not going to expect this dark, gritty show. I wasn't either. I didn't want that. But people say it got a little too silly in 5 and 6, where it should have gotten a little more serious as it went along. Yeah, I can see where they're coming from on that. But honestly, it didn't bother me. It really did. The one thing I will say is when Clint got stuck in a Christmas tree for a good 10 minutes, that was like, okay, you're getting a little too silly here. But other than that, I didn't really see a problem with it. Echo is in this, and she's kind of a villain, but not really at the same time. And they're setting her up for her own show. And that I'm actually looking forward to now after seeing the character in action. And speaking of action, the action in this is pretty good overall. There was this really good chase sequence with the cars in, I want to say it was episode 3, and it was very well done. And the final fight was, yeah, I agree with the person who said it was a little silly. Yeah, I do agree, but it was still a really cool fight. And I like that, Kate beat Kingpin in a fight, but at least it was believable. It wasn't some bullshit way where she kind of like Deus Ex Machina her way out of it, but it felt believable. So yeah, that was pretty cool to see. I like how they utilize Clint's abilities. Like, Hawkeye has never been an interesting character, especially with his weapons. He's got a bow and arrow. Even in Age of Ultron, he point fun at that, like, city's flying, we're fighting an army of robots. And I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense. Yeah, that's some really nice self-deprecating humor. That's pretty funny. But I like how they show just how powerful he can be with all these trick arrows. And there's one arrow that it had the PIM logo on it, and it made another arrow grow to like 100 times its size and like destroyed part of a bridge. That was pretty freaking awesome. That was a nice callback to Civil War, where Cap threw the truck and Ant-Man threw the little disc at it, and it grew to normal size and exploded. That was pretty cool to see. And I like the little comedic moments with it. I like the little LARPers, the little group that they kind of team up with. They're fun characters. And I like there was one character named, was it Grills, I want to say is his name? That's actually a character from the comics, and that was a really cool Easter egg there. So, yeah, all the Marvel shows have Easter eggs that you just kind of blink and you miss, or you kind of hear and miss, but that's kind of what they do. So, yeah, I really enjoyed Hawkeye. Is it the best of the Marvel shows? That's tough. It's definitely better than What If. There's no doubt about that. I did see a ranking that had like all 18 live-action Marvel shows, and Hawkeye was the lowest out of the 4. So, I don't know. I think my favorite is probably Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think this one was probably a little better than... I want to say this was probably third best. I want to say this was probably higher than Loki. I think Loki was probably my least favorite, even though I still enjoy the hell out of it. But yeah, I'm not going to score these. I'm not going to score TVs anymore, because that's hard enough. Especially when it's MCU, you know I'm going to get... This is just a high score. It's a really high score. In the A range, from A+ to A-, somewhere around there. So yeah, that's all I got for Hawkeye. Thank you all so much for watching. What did you think of Hawkeye? What do you think of the MCU shows in general? You looking forward to the ones coming out next year? I'm not looking forward to Miss Marvel. I hate that character so much, but maybe the MCU can do better. I'm looking forward to Moon Knight, and I'm looking forward to Echo, and Daredevil's returning. I'm excited about that, because I like that show. And yeah, that's all I got for this, and now I have to go catch up on a bunch of other movies. And I gotta do a rage review of Matrix Resurrections. Piece of crap.